Since its reveal, Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes has been on my most anticipated list. Like many, the Suikoden series provided hours of unique JRPG adventures when I was growing up. Given that publisher Konami has locked away the IP since 2012, developer Rabbit & Bear Studios has established to create a spiritual successor to Suikoden with the help of the series' original development team. Sadly, creator Yoshitaka Maruyama passed away before the full release, but I feel like his spirit and energy can be felt during every second of this game. So let's unpack this nostalgic adventure and see if it has what it takes to carry the Suikoden torch for modern gamers.
Come on! Yes!
The opening of Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes is very traditional, and once the action does pick up, you'll appreciate the time invested into setting up these characters and their world. We meet Noah, a young fighter who has just enlisted in the Watch, a work-for-hire group that takes on various tasks, but not many people want to actually do it. On his first day, Noah and his group are hired by Sign Kelsing, a member of the Galdean Empire, to look for a rune lens that could bring peace to the world. This is where things get complicated. Following that mission, we fast forward 6 months. Noah has done an okay job of staying busy, but the Watch isn't at the best shape, so the leader, Gar, makes him the leader in training and entrusts him to find more volunteers. What's great about the opening is that it teaches everything we need to know about the state of the world before we meet Noah. It establishes these core characters and their personalities, allowing you to understand what motivates them and what issues the nation currently faces. This is when we witness a peace agreement between the nations, but something doesn't sit right with the young Lady Grum, and it's established that not everything is going as smoothly as it seems. The opening is pretty lengthy, lasting about 6 hours for the game to subject a war of the nations onto the player, but by the time it does, you've already mentally prepared for it and have very few questions about your goal. Aside from this war, there are separate stories between Noah and Sign. When they begin their relationship as allies, that changed when the war starts. The way that each character doesn't hold back when they face off underscores their allegiance, but it's easy to see that their respect for each other makes their actions a little difficult. It's this story that resonated with me the most. It was a narrative of respect, honor, and friendship, and these two challenge each other with every move, heightening the thought of what will happen next. Several other narratives also occur, and many revolve around Noah, if you could have guessed, like his sister being involved in a side story and a few different other relationships that he makes. The war narrative stays consistently epic, but I find it plays it safe for the most part. I had various other subplots that I was following, making the war and political campaigns sit in the background for the most for me since they weren't all that complicated. I did find a few missed opportunities to explore other plot threads, but that would have probably broadened the scope of this game a little too much, so I felt like this surface level approach was enough to at least keep players interested until the credits. This game has a very large cast, which grows as you enlist more to your cause. Statistically, there has to be at least one character here that you resonate with, right? However, here comes my overall issue with the game. I never once felt like I was actually playing something. I had the controller in my hand, sure, but felt like a spectator in all of this. The more I sit with it, the more I wonder if the choice to make Noah a voice protagonist was made because Maruyama-san wanted Noah to represent something he brought to the table. I don't know how to actually explain it, but it feels like you're experiencing someone else's story, or watching an interactive movie play until you're asked to solve an environmental puzzle or choose something from a dialogue tree that doesn't affect the story outside of enlisting more characters. This extends into exploration as well, where there's these gorgeous open worlds and massive dungeons with branching paths, but absolutely no player agency. This really instills a sense of adventure into Noah, who can be seen marching into the unknown confidently, but as the player, fatigue sets in rather quickly. The dungeons are vast, and the encounter rate is very low. There are some dungeons where I had only fought maybe 2 or 4 times before the boss, but it still took me about 15 to 20 minutes to get through, and this leads me to another issue with the game: the auto battle system. After a few encounters, it's easy to see why the developer included an auto battle option. With 6 characters in a party and only a few skills and action options at your disposal, the developer here has mitigated mashing attack and streamlined the experience. This isn't bad, but it does mean that there is little strategy to regular grunt enemy attacks, and honestly, just feed into your urges and use the auto option. It'll save you a lot of time. That said, Boss encounters require you to rip off your auto chains and respond to gimmicks that can cause high damage to your party if they aren't addressed. And no, they are not addressed using the auto option. I don't know if I particularly like this, because how can you allow your players to rely on auto battle systems for the entirety of the fights, but then require them to understand strategy and party usage for bosses at the flip of a coin? Still, combat is very fun, and the joint attacks from Suikoden 5 also make an appearance here, which actually can't be used using the auto battle option. Items are interesting because they're actually kind of overpowered. Given that you have 6 members in your party, delegating healing and items to one character is easy without losing damage output. However, you can only carry a specific number of items, so you do have to make some choices about what you bring into dungeons. Equipment is also something I leaned heavily onto the auto-equip option, but strangely there isn't an option to remove all equipment from a character, at least one that I could find. Runes can also individualize characters to fine-tune their skills and strengths, so customization is pretty deep here. Ultimately, Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes becomes more of a puzzle game as you meet new characters and figure out what they want from you to enlist them. These elements have actually always been a staple in the series, and how this particular game plays out feels like an extension of Suikoden 5, with elements of Suikoden 2 from a design standpoint. As you enlist new characters, your base grows and you gain access to various enhancements that improve the quality of the game. This becomes the game loop in the middle as you prepare for future invasions. Customization is very impressive, with upgrades allowing you to refine almost any part of the nameable fortress. As you enlist and purchase upgrades, you'll grow your population. In the beginning, some item farming might be needed, but for the most part, you unlock material yielding shops pretty early on. There's also an SRPG war scenario system for combat that comes up, which is pretty interesting, if not a little random, but I had fun navigating the troops around during the fights. I also found the one-on-one battles, which mirror a sort of paper rock scissors rule strategy, create moments of tension and narrative building that were very much needed in this package. Still, from a gaming standpoint, all of this plays out so naturally that you will rarely feel challenged or overwhelmed, even when building an army. As I previously said, it feels like you're watching someone play until you're asked to participate, whether by solving a puzzle or fighting a boss gimmick. However, outside of that, you simply feel like a spectator. While some might like this approach, others might get exhausted running through the dungeons with nothing to do until they get to the bosses. Further, the streamlined approach gives off a sense of beginner-friendly vibes that can be customized using the hard mode option, but I'd still say play through on the normal difficulty to get an idea of what this game offers. Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes is a very beautiful JRPG from beginning to end. It captures the wonder of discovery and adventure in every scene, with an added dose of tension as you navigate the complexities of a nation at war. Still, much of the weight has been removed from the player to the point where it feels like the entire experience is on autopilot, and you're simply participating when it wants you to, like in a boss battle or environmental puzzle. That said, if I look at the game through the lens of it being Miriyama-san's adventure and not mine, I'm just happy that he allowed me to accompany him on this path. While it's a brilliant showcase of retro meets modern, there are some areas to improve, and I can't wait to see what this team comes up with next. Noisy Pixel is giving Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes a 7.5 out of 10. Thanks for watching. This video is brought to you by our supporters on Patreon. Noisy Pixel is run by a group of gamers providing independent gaming coverage through news, reviews, previews, and more. Check out our Patreon to help support our continued growth, and subscribe to keep up with all our future content.
Noisy Pixel.